systematic and planned well in advance. They're a very secretive group. It's composed of international financiers, heads of state, other high officials in Europe, and in the United States, typically the Secretary of Defense, Treasury, and state, other departments, and a top representative of the White House will attend these meetings, as they are even as we speak. How they plan the world affects every American. In fact, we've got good news to report today. At least it's so rare that you say good news. As we reported in 2005, bilderberg had planned to increase the price of oil in steps over a 2 to 3 year period from what was then $40 a barrel to now it's gone above $140 a barrel already. They had said that they would increase it to $150 a barrel. Now there's some debate within Bilderberg behind those locked and guarded doors with protected by FBI agents, Secret Service agents, local police. Fairfax County's reimbursed, as all communities are, for the extra protection. And it's all sealed off, of course, but we do have sources who can be our eyes and ears inside. And we've learned that Bilderberg is debating whether or not they should put a lid on the rising price of oil. They're saying such things as we are reaching the point of diminishing returns, making the point that once Americans start driving their small cars instead of SUVs, taking the train instead of driving to work, cutting back on vacations, as many Americans are forced to do now. They call them staycations, stay at home celebrating instead of traveling to the mountains or to the beach. They're saying if this gets well settled into the public conduct, then we become losers in the years ahead because the demand for oil goes down. So should they stop it now so that the Americans will get used to paying about $4 a gallon for gas? And be grateful it's only $4 a gallon a year from now. We remember not so many years ago, $1 a gallon was considered outrageously high. So there is a hope that they will put the lid on it now. It's reached more than $140 a barrel when they first planned to take it to $150 a barrel. Well, that would be good news for everybody who walks this earth if they don't go any higher, because even as high as they are now, inflation is generated by their tree-hugging policies of ethanol, diverting 1/4 of the United States crops, corn crops, to ethanol instead of food products, which of course affects the price of meat too, if you care about that if you're not a vegetarian, because corn is a basic staple for animal food too. So all this is weighing heavily on their minds, and while $4 a gallon for gas will never be good news for us, at least we have hopes it will not get any worse. They're debating that even as we speak.
Is it proof, in your opinion, when the world's most elite meet, we know Ben Bernanke, Condoleezza Rice, David Rockefeller, Mark Sanford, governor of South Carolina, was there, Paul Wolfowitz, and the mainstream press, nationally, locally, is completely silenced? Is freedom of the press dead? Do we have control of the media? How do you explain that the only people that cover this is the Real News, Alex Jones, yourself, and We Are Change?
Well, in Europe, they get a great deal of attention. That's why it's easier to force the list of attendees and the agenda out of them, because they're embarrassed when they see big headlines on major European newspapers, photos, big headlines, lead stories about these secret group of international figures meeting behind closed doors. Now, it's harder to pry it out of the Bilderberg when they're in this country, because in the United States the discipline is so strong. For example, the Washington Post, New York Times, LA Times always represented Bilderberg and the junior varsity called the Trilateral Commission. And the heads of that is the on-camera guys or the major networks have all attended on their lifetime promise of secrecy, never to reveal know anything about Bilderberg. So, American newspapers operate, the wires operate like the Harvard's Co-op. I know about that. I spent 20 happy years with daily newspapers before undertaking this mission. And the small daily in Possum Trot, Oregon, will have a small staff. They'll depend on the wires entirely for state news and national news and world news. They don't have a man in the capital to cover the state legislature. They just go on what they call the state split and gobble up AP's coverage of the state house, for example. So when the New York Times, well, the small dailies paying just a few bucks for one wire. The New York Times, the LA Times, the metropolitan newspapers are paying great big bucks for a lot of AP wires. AP will have a local wire or national wires, all kinds of wires services, along with United Press International and the Reuters and other services. Actually, Reuters has done some exposure with Bilderberg in the past, but when they're told we do not want to see the word Bilderberg on these wires at all, that's tremendous economic pressure they put on AP. And AP is not as shaky as the United Press International financially, but they're not comfortable either. So they can effectively ban the word on the wires. If you ban the word Bilderberg on the wires, there's no way, as how sincere he may be, the editor of a smaller daily could possibly know about Bilderberg. In fact, while I was serving happily with the Washington News until its editor folded up in July of '72, we had bureaus all over the world, not a word. The biggest scripts-hour newspaper had bureaus all over the world, not a word about Bilderberg. I didn't know Bilderberg existed until 1975 when I went to work for the Liberty Lobby with the assignment of getting pregnant and creating Spotlight. And then after did some research one day, I was doing a research paper showing the expose by that great columnist, what his name escapes me at the moment. He's a great columnist, Westbrook Pegler, the late Westbrook Pegler, first reported on Bilderberg in 1957. He did not know they were called Bilderberg. He was just giving some information about people, very important people being behind locked and guarded doors at Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia. So he went down to the Jekyll Island area, found a hot spot in the hills, got out his binoculars, and observed the armed guards stealing off the island at everybody who was not Bilderberg staff or Bilderberg participants. And he was able to be a world traveler. He was able to identify by sight many of the luminaries. So he got back to New York, started calling up these luminaries. What's going on? And they were so refused to say anything, including the editor, the late editor of the Atlanta Constitution. And they refused to talk, to tell him anything. So he raised logical questions. Why evil goes on in secrecy? Why are they meeting behind such heavy security and not even admitting that they exist? He wrote 2 heavy columns on that, and having been a Westbrook Pegler fan since childhood, that made a tremendous impression on me. Along with the follow-up work that Liberty Lobby had done in covering through newsletters and so forth. So I've been committed to it ever since.
Well, it's amazing to me that we got Turkish papers reporting this, and papers here in America doesn't cover it at all. It's a shame on American